Well, hello, folks. I'm back again. Couldn't help it. I was thinking about something. I did something stupid. I didn't turn on my mic, so I had my mic. I was wondering why the sound was so weird, but it wasn't on the proper channel on my mixer. So there you go. A one-man band. You forget things. You can't keep track of all the stuff going on when you make videos, even though this is so simple, right? Anyway, I was talking about Ian McGilchrist and Daniel Schmachtenberger, John Vervaeke, and they were chatting about the meaning crisis and whatnot. And I always get a kick out of it. I love the way John Vervaeke thinks. I like all the connections he makes in his scholarship and thought processes. And I love the way Daniel Schmachtenberger thinks. Really, really enjoy his perspective on existential risk and how you frame things and put everything together so that you can better understand all the different complex things going on surrounding the subject of existential risk, self-terminating culture, basically, which is what we're in, I think. But anyway, the one thing these guys don't get right, and I read a piece this morning by my old friend, another guy I admire, because he's entertaining to read more than anything. He has a certain literary flourish and way with words, with some semi-coded language, and always references to cool cats then and now. So, good old Moldbug, Curtis Yarvin. He was kind of weaving some accelerationism stuff. He ended with some quotes from Tolstoy. Imagine that. He ended with some quotes from Trotsky. So imagine that, Moldbug quoting Trotsky. I got a big kick out of it. Anyway, basically saying Trotsky might have been one of the original accelerationist thinkers. He was talking about techno-optimism, and of course he put that in a frame with what order means, and it was fun to read. But it kind of brings me back to what I was thinking about my reaction to the conversation with the three gentlemen, Ian, Daniel, and John. The one thing, it's fun to talk about Neoplatonism or Plato and Aristotle and Socrates and the Stoics and various types of Christianity and philosophy and refer to Heidegger and Kant and all that stuff and whatever. Cognitive behavioral therapy and Freudian, neo-Freudian psychology, whatever the hell. But anyway, and figure out a religion that isn't a religion or something, traditions that aren't traditions. Well, we've had them forever, right? I mean, we can't go back to, prehistory and figure out what kind of animism did they practice. They probably didn't practice anything. They're just trying to stay alive. But anyway, from civilization, when we had food that we could store and use throughout the winter and whatnot, and armies to go steal stuff from other people, we started to develop philosophy and religious thinking and all that kind of stuff, mythology, the pantheon of gods, and all that stuff. Well, this is all fun. It's an interesting project. It's a fun project. And yeah, it's all great. And I love listening to John Vervaeke. He's got a lot of content, and almost all of it is enjoyable for me. But there's something missing, and it's a pretty glaring thing, actually, for me. As long as we have the socioeconomic belief system and practices in place globally that we have now, which I've often referred to as, coded fossil fuel neoliberal capital. This particular form of capitalism, financialization, and so on, as long as we're using technology to use more resources to build more stuff, to make people weaker and weaker, which is something Curtis Yarvin was alluding to in his piece. And he talked about Kinshasa and Johannesburg. I've been to these kinds of cities around the world, and I know what he's talking about. There's a certain amount of resilience and strength in being in a failed, kind of a semi-failed state. There's inequality, of course. You can live a good life in any city if you're rich, but without an ordered society, it's difficult to have a secure, safe society. So these places aren't safe, but there's a certain amount of strength that people and resiliency that people have to develop just by necessity to survive in those places. I look around where I live and I see brick and mortar and, stucco and plaster and tiled roofs and whatnot. It's fairly simple. If the crash happens, the big recession, we can grow spuds and we can build a little tiny house and survive somehow in a much more scaled down economy. But anyway, techno-optimism, that was an interesting take on it by Curtis. But, I keep coming back to the thing that these guys don't think about or talk enough about, in my opinion, which is just the socioeconomic system, politics in general. And also, maybe in the old days, there was the chance that through the cycles of history, from tyranny to some form of majority rule to the cycle, oligarchy and monarchy and whatnot, and then you get to mobs ruling, and so on, demagogues and populist politics, whatnot. All these cycles, these things, just like the development of ideas, take centuries to happen. The cycles are long. It seems like the cycles are shorter now, but still it takes a long time to shift things. So you're not going to have a global revolution where people are going to, you have to have a network of ideas around the world that somehow coalesce and form new ideas. People talk about the founding fathers of the United States, Jefferson and Hamilton and people like that, as being amazing Renaissance people, and they really were. It was a very unique period of history when they came up with their ideas, but these ideas didn't come from nowhere. It took centuries of Enlightenment thinking and Age of Discovery and stuff like that before they had their ideas, and these people were basically self-taught compared to, people in wealthy countries who go to university, graduate school, and get PhDs and whatnot. They read the classics, they thought deeply, they figured things out, they knew how to do things. And for that to happen again in today's age is going to be difficult because we expect everything to be instantaneous, to be at our fingertips. We want to look things up. We want to use Google Maps. We want to talk to our friends via, text messages and social media and so on. And a lot of us just don't know how to do much of anything except parrot other people's ideas and thoughts and whatnot. And we're searching, trying to make sense of things. So that's the, meaning crisis, if you want. But where's the political movement going to come from? Where are the ideas that are going to reform and restructure and provide the impetus and motivation to build a politics that's sustainable and more just and more orderly and more secure and safer for people, but also expanding your area of consideration and compassion and so on to the natural world, because without complex ecosystems and various life forms coexisting in some form of harmony, or at least, some stasis in nature, some balance, our habitat ceases to exist. No machines are going to replace any of that. I heard Steven Pinker talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about that thought experiment where you replace every neuron in your brain with a computer chip. And at the end of the day, you have a facsimile, a simulacrum of an individual, but that individual is dead insofar as what John Vervaeke would think consciousness is in its networked relational context with everything. So the cospolon, as I would say, or the cosmos, the polis, and the salon, your home, yourself, whatever. And you can get stuck in solipsism and some kind of radical existentialism or nihilism or whatever when you start going down these roads. But the point is, we don't have the desire to really fix things, and we don't have the power. And all the money flows up now. It's never going to flow down again. The system's been so well engineered to push money to money that the power players, regardless of whether they're good people or not, have coded the system to feed them more money, more power, more resources, more control. This isn't a conspiracy. It's just a natural kind of emergent property of the system that evolved over time. And it took centuries to get to where it is today. And it required fossil fuels to get to this scale. So even if we have fusion energy or some other form of energy system or all electrification or whatever, we're still going to need a radical transformation of socio-political structures, ideas, systems, as well as socioeconomic systems if we're going to be able to, get through the incredible, unprecedented challenges that our species has to face today. And people sometimes don't understand, but, there were lots of different species of hominid over the course of, mammals on Earth. And all of them are extinct. Most people do know about the Neanderthal species, and we're the last ones standing. Now, we're pretty clever creatures, but animals, however you want to characterize us. But kind of built into our cleverness is the ability to exploit nature to such a degree that we wreck it. We try to bend it all to our will, turn it all into technology and material things. And basically, while we're doing this, we're killing everything. That's why I always, I borrowed that thing from Guy McPherson, omnicidal heat engine, global heating. Well, our civilization is an omnicidal heat engine. There's no doubt about that. And at some point, we lose stasis, balance, we lose our ecosystem, and then we all starve to death. What happens after billions of us starve to death, I don't know. Maybe some people bounce back somehow. I'm writing a story about that, but it's complex. I can't go into it, but I don't see the ideas happening, and definitely not with the people who run the game and play the game. There's just nobody there. If you're looking for that benevolent monarch or whatever, that team of people, that network of individuals in a community, I don't remember what the population in 1776 was in the colonies during the Revolution, but it was in the millions, not tens of millions. So there were a few people, and they were slowly networked with Europe and European thought and philosophy and ideas. Benjamin Franklin spent a lot of time in Europe and so on. But basically, they figured things out for themselves. And most of them, like Abraham Lincoln, who came obviously much later, but these people were autodidacts to a great degree. They had mentors, they had leaders, they had people that they could learn from, learn crafts and ideas and philosophy and theology from, and so on. These were face-to-face, slow relationships where everyone had skin in the game because you needed each other to survive, like you're walking across Alaska or a desert and you need your team members, otherwise, because it's hard to survive by yourself in those environments. And of course, you might think George Washington was a saint, or maybe he was just a real estate speculator, an Indian killer. But those were those times, and these people were complex, interesting people with ideas, confidence, courage. They were much different than we are. I think, of course, there are lots of great people in the world, but who's going to sacrifice? Who's going to step up and say, this is what we have to do, and I'm willing to give my life for it, basically? Other than saying, we got to control the pipelines and the gas and the economy of Europe, and Russia and Germany is no good. And we're going to push regime changes and color revolutions and shift the narrative and, basically push nations to war so that we can achieve some bizarre, vague goal of, controlling the spice or whatever. And it never works out. I mean, and they can never have enough. So these ideologues in the United States and Europe, they'll never have enough. There's not enough Leopold in them to have enough hands and arms chopped off. There'll never be enough.
I remember when I was with Special Forces, seems 1,000 centuries ago, we went into a camp to inoculate some children. We left the camp after we had inoculated the children for polio. And this old man came running after us, and he was crying. He couldn't say. We went back there, and they had come and hacked off every inoculated arm. There they were in a pile of little arms. And I remember I cried, I wept like some grandmother. I wanted to tear my teeth out. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I want to remember it. I never want to forget it. I never want to forget. And then I realized, like I was shot with a diamond bullet right through my forehead. And I thought, my God, the genius of that, the genius, the will to do that. Perfect, genuine, complete, crystalline, pure. And then I realized they were stronger than me because they could stand it. These were not monsters. These were men, trained cadres. These men who fought with their hearts, who have families, who have children, who are filled with love, but they have the strength to do that. If I had 10 divisions of those men, then our troubles here would be over very quickly. You have to have men who are moral and at the same time who are able to utilize their primordial instincts to kill without feeling, without passion, without judgment. Because it's judgment that defeats us.
And it's true, at some point with your techno-optimism, you engineer human beings right out of the picture. It is a possibility. I don't think it's likely anytime soon, but, it heads in that direction. The logic goes in that direction. And all of it can be rationalized. You can come up with reasons and justifications for doing just about anything. But it doesn't really help much. There's no sense that the UN or any of these other global institutions have any power, except the think tanks and the NGOs and the governments that have the power because they have the money and the resources and the militaries to tell everybody else what to do, what they can and can't do. We have a rules-based order. Here are the rules. You have to follow them. We can break them because we make the rules, kind of thing. And of course, in my opinion, that leads to destruction, or what Schmachtenberger would say, self-terminating system. And we have to address the politics. How could you vote for Trump or Biden or anybody in the United States right now? I mean, are there any leaders in there worth even looking at or thinking about? Really? Is anyone even close to a Benjamin Franklin or a Hamilton? There's nobody like that. And I know I understand we have persons now and women have more power. I'm asking if women want to step up, step up. How are they going to get the men to sacrifice for something? Anybody can stand up. I'm, still reading that book about Hannah Arendt and Ayn Rand and Simone Weil and Simone Beauvoir and so on. And those are great things to think about, those ladies thinking back then. But we don't have minds like that in control with any power today. We just don't have them. Where are we going to find them? How are we going to develop them? So if you imagine the kind of mentorship, environment, and education a person would need to become a leader of that stature today, is there anybody out there? I mean, they don't even teach the humanities hardly anymore in schools. You have to study STEM because you need a job. Before the AI takes it, maybe 10 years you'll have a job, and you can buy some crypto or something, invest in bond ladders or whatever. Before robotics, the technology that you're building makes you obsolete. So I had a great job engineering at the, chip foundry until the machines got so good at building themselves, they didn't need me anymore. Well, that's not going to happen anytime soon, but the logic goes in that way if you think like that. And also if you think that the Earth's ecosystems, or the Earth system, just the atmosphere, any of the chemistry on Earth is unlimited and forever, you're sadly mistaken. We do have a duty to be good stewards on this planet. And if we're not, we're in big trouble. So why should you care? I don't know. If you want to be a player, be a player. If you want to make $1 billion, go ahead, give it a shot, see if you can do it. Do what you got to do, live your life. But where are the networks of people that are thinking about providing the socioeconomic and political structures and systems needed to allow thinkers like Vervaeke and McGilchrist and Schmachtenberger to develop their ideas into something that creates a resilient and healthy and deep, profound, thoughtful, intelligent community of people. Yeah, you could talk about Dunbar numbers all you want and scaling and whatnot and gain this, that, and the other thing, or building your own crypto cities or whatever. Go ahead, dream away, but try to do it. Can you work with enough people that are equally as smart as you are and hash out what needs to be done and then go and do it? That's the question. And does anybody even give a shit? And I just don't think people care that much. So we're going to just ride this beast into the future, into the next decade, and come what may. We'll have to deal with circumstances, which is the greatest, most potentially nasty tyrant, because at the end of the circumstances that we engineered, literally, through our laziness or our intent, can rear up and wipe us all out. But anyway, have a happy holidays, enjoy. We're going to go to the Obido's Castle today and eat at a friend's restaurant and then walk around and look at the holiday decorations and whatnot. So life is good. Take some deep breaths, lower your blood pressure, go hug somebody, go kiss somebody, have sex, do what you got to do. Enjoy the day, and I'll talk to you again when I talk to you again. Bully MT.